Before we start this is all my personal opinions. It's okay to think otherwise. Opinions are opinions after all, and the world would be boring if everyone thought the same. With that said, this review ain't gonna be a breeze for me.
Sonic X Shadow Generations is coming in a month from now by the time of this recording. It looks really good so far, from the remixes that we got to the outstanding bits and pieces of the level design. There is a few stuff that could be improved, like the ranking system of the stages, but overall this is looking promising. The Sonic Generations portion still looks very similar for what's supposed to be a remaster, but it does look better than it did originally. Sorry for that. That being said, before this all comes out, I wanted to do two major Sonic videos before this comes out. The GameCube level ranking, and the video you are watching as of right now. In 2011, Nintendo made an advanced version of the DS called the 3DS. Since Sonic Generations came around the same year, they wanted to make a version of the game on a handheld. This is the main topic of this video. The first Sonic game on the channel to get a different variation of the game being reviewed. Although when Shadow Generations comes out, I'll do a short re-review of the HD version like I did with Colors and Unleashed. Not gonna lie, I didn't think Sonic Generations would be the first Sonic game I would beat multiple variations of. But here we are. Though this isn't the first Sonic game I've played multiple versions of, cause that would be Sonic Lost World. In fact, I will also review the Wii U/PC version in the future since I reviewed the 3DS counterpart already. Then again, my opinion on that version has significantly changed ever since. Unfortunately for the worst. Regardless, enough chit-chatting about other games. Let's talk about Sonic Generations for the 3DS. I hope you all enjoy the video. For the story of Sonic Generations, it kinda sucks. But just so I don't have to say it during my re-review of Sonic X Shadow Generations comes out, I'll say it here. The story starts out with classic Sonic in Green Hill Zone, but then encounters the main villain of the game, the Time Eater. We then cut into Sonic's birthday party, since this was the game for Sonic's 20th anniversary. God, and he's over 30 years old now, and close to 35. Wow. Regardless, during the middle of it, the Time Eater shows up and sucks everyone in, and it's up to modern and classic Sonic to restore time, and to beat the Time Eater. Sadly, modern and classic Eggman have taken control of the Time Eater, and both of the Super Sonics have to beat him up. After all of that, they go back in time where the birthday party started, they say goodbye to classic Sonic and Tails, and both of the Eggmans suck into the void, having no explanation on how they escaped. The plot itself is a little too simple for my liking, and the writing is just kinda annoying for both versions of Generations. If Ian Flynn plans to rewrite Generations' story, that might be necessary to give the game a bigger identity than it already has. But yeah, we're done here. We're actually going to be going into the more interesting side of Generations 3DS, which isn't really saying much, the gameplay. Okay, so the gameplay for Sonic Generations 3DS is completely different from the HD counterpart. All the 3D sections have been removed from the game aside from the set pieces and the special stages. There's a total of 7 areas in the game, which is 2 less compared to the HD version. Modern and classic Sonic are split into different acts like the HD version. Getting into the controls, classic Sonic is more accurate to the old games than he was in the HD Generations. Spin dash is back to normal, startup speed is what you would expect, and the rolling feels way better and far more useful. Though he is given the homing attack when you get into Emerald Coast. So, classic Sonic just becomes Adventure Sonic when you think of it, because he's able to unlock the homing attack, literally giving him the moveset from the Adventure games minus the Lightspeed Dash and the abilities from Adventure 2. Admittedly, the homing attack handles well here if you use it right, much like the previous games. Modern Sonic handles much like his days in Sonic Rush. The jumps need mastering, the boost controls work well, and overall the controls are very typical for a Sonic game like this. There's not much to say on Modern Sonic other than he controls pretty well, at least to me. Okay, so the character handling of this game, while not perfect, it still gets the job done with little issue. So what's the problem with this version of Generations? Just one major thing. The structuring of the game itself. As I said, the game has 2 less level areas compared to the HD version, which already made it an already really short game even shorter and even more underwhelming. It doesn't help that the design of these stages are very lacking. Classic Sonic's level design for the Genesis era, Green Hill, Casino Night, and Mushroom Hill, are just ripped straight out of the old games. Not even exaggerating. The modern versions of these levels are a little better because the pathways and skips are interesting enough and the gimmicks are okay, to say the least. Then the level pacing is all over the place. Emerald Coast was a great pick for an SA1 level, but this level pales in comparison to pretty much all the speed stages from that game. The level isn't terrible, it's just uninteresting. The pathways are at the bare minimum of what it should be, and the set pieces are just not as spot on as the original. Radical Highway is the most confusing pick out of the bunch. I know everybody remembers this level well, but Sonic never visited this era. This is why Shadow Generations works for this because Shadow visited here, and why Sonic Generations doesn't work for it because Sonic never visited here. Even if you look past all that, this is easily the worst level in the game. Classic Sonic's level is lazily made with death pits being the only source of difficulty, and Modern's level is just confusing with its navigation, and at the same time allows you to skip over the level which you don't even know what you skipped. I know that's due to the screen crunch, but my point is, this level was pretty bad, and the worst one in the game to me. On the contrary, Water Palace and Tropical Resort are arguably the best levels in the game. Water Palace is fairly linear, but it makes up for gimmicks and the fast pacing of the level. Tropical Resort is a little more open thanks to the wisps, and the gimmicks within the level, including the wisps, are all fun to toy around with. It's nothing mind-blowing, but I find these levels enjoyable enough, and way better than Planet Wisp in the HD version. Sadly, these are the only exceptions of all the levels, as the rest are either painfully average, or just plain bad, like Radical Highway. The boss fights aren't that great either. The rival fights do have their own difficulty from each other, but it doesn't help that they're all races as opposed to the HD version only having one racing boss, that being Shadow. Big Arm is too quick compared to Sonic 3, and the Bio Lizard along with Egg Emperor are too slow compared to SA2 and Heroes. I like the Time Meter boss though, as it is miles better compared to the HD version. It's not as slow, the QTEs are a nice touch, and your friends don't talk during the fight on a constant basis. Thank the gods. Anyways, the special stages are passable. I think these are the easiest special stages in the whole series. That might be due to the controls being miles better than the controls from Sonic Heroes, which is the game this is based off of. It's still fine enough, though this is the only part of the game with 3D elements in the gameplay, which is odd considering that the 3DS is able to handle 3D games better than the regular DS. Well, actually, I do kinda get why Sonic Generations 3DS only has 2D sections as opposed to 3D sections. Sonic Generations 3DS was only developed for around 6 months, making it half of the time or less compared to the HD Generations development time. I guess this explains why the 3D sections aren't here, so I guess you could say that this game is somewhat incomplete. If there's anything else to mention, the graphics are nice for the 3DS, and the remixes are great, with the best ones being Big Arm and Tropical Resort Act 2. And that's pretty much it. With all the reasons I stated, I didn't really like playing Sonic Generations on the 3DS. I knew this was a different variation of the game, but I was still somehow more underwhelmed than I thought I'd be. There is fun to be had with the game mechanically, but the structuring leaves a lot to be desired. From boring level design to boring boss fights. That's the entire game pretty much. I don't think Sonic Generations 3DS is a bad game, I just don't think it's a very good game either. It's just boring to me. That being said, you all are still free to leave your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you all think of this game? With that said, thank you guys for watching. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel. And in the meantime, I'll be playing Sonic and the Fallen Star, another great fan game that I'll showcase sometime. I'll see you guys in October when these things come out. Goodbye, everyone.